Hi there, welcome to Vchain Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. If you're new to my sessions, these are the key takeaways you can expect. I'll talk about the Wyckoff stages, both current and the immediate next stages, both on the weekly and daily time frames, and also the key price levels that Vchain would find resistance or support, and also any breakout timing that the charts are telling us. So let's dive into the weekly chart first. And soon enough, we see what's going on. Within this downward channel box, this blue box over here, we see for 3 consecutive weeks that the price has been trading underneath this ceiling, but at the same time, trying to stay above this white line over here. You see these wicks at the bottom? That's where the bulls pushes the price back to this level, or people buying the dip whenever it gets close to the red key level. This white line here is the center line of the long-term playground zone. Let me change it back to a dashed line so we don't mistaken it from the ceiling and the bottom of this long-term playground zone. This, why it is named this way, because it tracks from the very beginning, basically a long-term indication of where the trading area of this particular asset is. So for Vchain, it's from July 2018 all the way till now. About 70-80% of the time during this period, this like 7-year period, the price was trading within this area. Only during the peaks of the distribution cycles that the price would go outside of this. Currently, we are within this range. However, the price is trying to stay up on the upper half of this box. Last time, when the deeper test and the spring happened, back in 2022 and summer 2023, the price went below the center line just to stay above this red key level of 1 cent 50. The event on October 10th went all the way to the lower half of this lower half. Okay, if I cut it another time, that's where it is. That's where the low of let's say the backup and last point of support period before the climb back in 2020. Okay, you see the importance of these references, right? Even though they are like 5 years ago, it's still showing its effect today. So the place where the October 10th got to, this was where the dip was over here before the price shot up to the 2021 mega distribution. Okay, right? See that, the importance of it. So the decision point we are having now, or the Vchain is having now, is whether to break outside of this downward channel, or if you are in the candlestick pattern analogy, that's a bull flag. Is it going to break out and show us some upward movement? I'll adjust this box when we get to the daily time frame. So we are at the tip of this triangle now. So basically this blue box and the white line. If this breakout is going to happen, then it's a relieving sign that the big guys doesn't want the price to go challenge the red key level, or even eventually this the yellow dash line at a lower level. But there is a chance, okay? Be really careful. Oh, what just happened over here? It basically pumped down by another few percent. So it seems like it's going to once again, after the first 2 weeks, going to challenge the red key level again while we are talking. So the big picture is for a deeper level test potentially happening. So the spring hasn't finished yet. Remember, it can go to the red, right? So this is still a question mark. How far deep the spring would go? Would it end at the red key level, or is it going to follow downtrend, hitting the bottom edge of this downtrend box and finishing somewhere below the red, we are going to find out pretty soon. So that, I would say, this is still a higher chance for it to reveal itself where it is going to stop, and this has to wait for a bit longer. If it really continues, the time point here is indicating it's sometime around end of this month. That's another point. If this week's candle is going to close below the white dash line, then that's the point where another challenge would happen, whether the breakout to the upside will go on, or is it going to continue down. Like I said, it can come down all the way to challenge the bottom edge of this blue box. I'm not going to repeat this again. I know I repeated it for like 2 times, but it's very important because that for Vchain, that's how deep it can go. Worst case scenario. Or you may say the worst case is actually for it to go to 0. But I don't think the supporters of Vchain would agree. Okay, let's get back to this. The Bollinger Band Keltner squeeze. Currently, we're still within the squeeze, meaning a bigger price swing will happen. And whether or not today's move, by dropping around 10% now, is the beginning of the post-squeeze swing period. So last time it happened is went to the upside and then eventually just to swing back to the downside. Previously, same in 2023, 2024. But it doesn't always just swing to the upside first. Sometimes it swings to the downside from the squeeze. So be careful when you use this. It's an indication of bigger price move is going to happen, not telling us that it's definitely going to one side or the other. Let's go to the daily chart now. So I said I'm going to adjust that downtrend box. And it looks to me we just need to do a slight touch. Because the bottom candles aren't really within the box. Slightly expand this. So we cover the wicks as well. So that's where it hit the box, the ceiling of the box, and getting like bouncing off from that ceiling. If you're new to this channel box concept, basically the price movements you can expect within the channel is for it to bounce between either the 2 edges or the center line. So this was where it happened. So a center line is, if you want to draw this, within the box you'll find a level, whether the box is trending up, trending down, or trending sideways, it doesn't matter. You can always find such a line where you see very frequent candlesticks activity, either their head or tails are ending at that point. That's where the bounces would happen. Okay. Now, when the price comes down, interestingly for today, there's a dual support over here. One is the center line of this blue box. The other is the red key level of 1 cent 50. If it really comes further down in the next 7 hours, this may be the first point of support, and whether or not it's going to behave like the previous 8 to 9 days, I think 8 days in total, that the price come down to challenge the center line and then basically bounces briefly upwards. We will soon find out. But then, remember I said, right? When it bounces from the ceiling, there's also a tendency for it to come down to test the bottom. Not like within 1 day, unless we've got something like October 10th. You see it went straight from the ceiling right through the bottom even. So for the next couple of days, if it continues to trade downwards, and doesn't find support at the center line, that's where it can go test all the way to about 1 cent or even a bit lower. That's what the daily chart is telling us. In terms of Wyckoff, that's definitely a spring because the selling climax was here back in June at a level around 2 cents 20. Currently we're way deeper, but then if we look back, I already mentioned we've got lower points. So a time point that we are heading towards is this one. November 2nd is the date where the top edge of this box, this downward channel, is crossing the red key level. So if the price doesn't fall below this red line earlier than that date, it will continue to trade within this triangle, edging closer to the tip when we get to the end of this month. And when that happens, the breakout will happen. The big guys will let us know where they want to head to. So one scenario is for this to break outside of this bull flag or downward channel, but doesn't mean it can go all the way up, crossing all these 4 resistance lines immediately. It can trade sideways still below this center line of the long-term playground zone, if you still remember this long-term playground zone. That's one way it can happen. So 2 ways I mentioned: one to the upside, challenging all these resistances before the orange key level, and the second is just trading sideways between the center white dash line and the red key level. Then now we come to scenario 3, meaning the breakout doesn't happen within this triangle. It breaks towards the downside below the red key level instead, meaning the big guys are confirming this downtrend is going to continue. And if that happens, the next level of support would be this yellow dashed line at around 0.0096. That's like less than 1 cent. I just want to align this and make it simpler to 0.0096. Okay. If that happens, let me extend this channel box by a little, and the center line as well. So when that happens, instead of this passing this end of the month breakout time point, we have to look at mid-November. So that time point is November 14th. So between the end of this month or early November, for the first 2 weeks of November, this may break out once again, breaking outside of this downward channel. Hopefully the downward channel doesn't extend all the way to the bottom of this long-term playground zone. You see what happened back in here. That was 2019-2020. We obviously don't want Vchain to get to that 6 years ago level. Okay, but as long as this downward trend isn't broken, then there's still a chance for this to happen. So the first 2 chances it has is by the end of this month, next by the middle of November, and eventually by November 24th, 25th, that this downtrend has a chance to be broken. 3 chances in a month's time, from now till November 24th, 25th. Okay, so that's for Vchain. Not very optimistic at the moment, especially it seems like it's still coming down to challenge the red key level, and finger crossed that it's going to finish its test sooner and show us where the spring is in order to get back on track towards at least the horizontal range of the accumulation. Thanks for joining me today. See you